you tell me about your biggest win?
My biggest win. Let's see. There's a lot of wins in my life. My biggest win. Let's see. Without going through everything, I think my biggest win happened after like the worst loss of my life. And that was my daughter when she passed away. I think the biggest win for me was dealing with that for 6 years and not knowing how to deal with that grief and not knowing how to deal with that loss and not accepting that loss. I was doing cardio one day. It was early one morning. I was preparing for a competition. And I remember I would always tell God, it was like, God, if she was here, life would be better. Anytime I dealt with like a hardship or anything like that, I was like, God, if she was here, life would be better. And I remember him, like, it was almost like clear as day, saying like, you know, how long was she here? And she passed after 10 months of being on earth. And it was like, and I was like, 10 months, you know? And he was like, she was only here for 10 months. And here you are at, I forget what age I was, at 25, 26. And it was just like, she was only here for 10 months and made that big of an impact on your life. Just like she made that impact on your life, do that for others. Give them a reason to live. And at that point, it was so clear to me how life is short, life is fragile, but it's so important that we all have the power of impact. Like what we choose to do with our lives in that short amount of time that we're here is powerful, you know? And for her to only be on earth for 10 months, and for 6 years, I grieved the loss of her only being, and people had died. You know, people were born into the world during those 6 years, and I felt absolutely nothing, you know? And he was like, just like she impacted you, like just being here 10 months. And at that point, I was like, she had did her job. She taught me how to love unconditionally. Regardless of like what issues she had, I was okay with that, you know? And then she taught me how to live, because if that had not happened, I don't think I would be the person I am today. I don't think I would be grateful for life. I don't think I would help people. I don't think I would understand what it is to lose somebody and then to continue to move on. I don't understand. I don't think I would understand what it is to live without experiencing that loss. And that was so powerful for me. I think that was my biggest win, is to understand like the purpose of life, you know? And that was just like doing cardio one morning and just like crying in my feelings and just like pissed off and like, God, what did you do? You know? And at that point I realized that we all have the power of impact. You know, we're either going to have a negative or positive impact. So we choose the type of impact that we want to have. And so at that point, I was just like, just be positive. Like put energy, the right energy into yourself, put the right energy into people, and just be successful at it.
Amen. Oh, what a powerful response to tragedy, to adversity. And I think, to your point, having the mindset that, hey, whatever happens to me, I'm going to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
You know, some may call it delusional, but it's more of a how can I use this?
Yeah.
This is already bad. This already hurts. It's already painful. But how can I transform that pain into something with purpose? How can I transform myself and maybe those around me into the type of person that takes adversity and turns it into armor, and takes struggle and turns it into strength? And it's clear that you've done that.
Yeah.
I commend you for that, and what a hard thing to overcome. And I was trying to bait. I know you had a huge win in a competition, but it speaks even more to your character and to your soul that the biggest win in your mind is this really intimate, very personal moment of a mindset shift, instead of being on stage with all the lights on you and getting your name called.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I guess that's a consolation prize. Can we hear about the competition?
So there's two competitions that were priced. The first one was the muscle and fitness competition at the Olympia. That one.
And just for context, explain Olympia. Like what? Yeah. Like for someone that isn't in this world, that doesn't understand it, like bare bones, what is it?
Yeah. So the Olympia is the biggest bodybuilding show in the world, where all the best physiques of the world come in, and they're placed. They're ranked in the world. And so Muscle and Fitness has a competition. Flex Magazine and Muscle and Fitness Magazine had a competition to where they would bring all the models, like, and competitors, that weren't pro, from all over the world, and on one stage. And then there was one trophy, and you could win the cover of the magazine. At that point in my life, I had just overcame the high blood pressure. I was new to the sport, driven, but it was just like, I don't even know why I signed up for this show, because it was a really big show, but maybe I just believed in myself. And I was going through a lot in life. To make a long story short, on the way to the competition, my flight was redirected. So I didn't even make it there until like the day of the show. I was supposed to be there 2 days earlier. I ended up having there was a delay. I ended up having to fly to California, and then from California to Vegas. I got there the morning of the show, the day that I was supposed to step on stage.
Wow.
So everything went horribly wrong.
All your prep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's like down to a
Oh
science,
man,
right?
yeah.
The way you prepared the last few days.
Yeah, everything went horribly wrong. Got there, I was super confident. I just had a good feeling that everything was going to work out. I mean, at that point, what can you do? I had trained. Prior to that, this is a crazy thing. Prior to that, I had played like 7 games of volleyball. Dislocated my shoulder, so I couldn't even pose, couldn't even train upper body. So this was like 4 to 2 weeks out from the show. And I remember Michael Bevins was like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I have no idea, but I'm already lean, so I just got to stay on track." So it was like, so when I finally made it out there, it was just one thing after another. Got backstage right before they were calling the competitors up. I realized I didn't even have my number. The photographer that was with me was like on the other side of the venue. So no cell phone service, had to track the photographer down. It was so crazy because everything prior to that had been horribly wrong. Life was like just crazy. The blood pressure issues, I had overcome that. And so it came to the point where I finally got the badge. They were already calling competitors up. And I got up there, I felt great about the competition. But the night show, when they finally announced, when they were going to announce the winner, they had the top 10 up there. It was, I think, 70 guys from all over the world.
Wow.
So they were going to announce the top 10. And when they brought that single trophy out there, meaning there was only one place, and that was first place, I think everything became real at that moment. I was like, here I am on the biggest stage of the world, and there's only 10 guys on this stage, the top 10, and there's only one trophy. And if I don't win that trophy, then everything that I worked for was for nothing. That was my mindset. So I was just like, when they call us out to battle for this trophy, to pose, I got to give it all I got, and we were up there. It seemed like eternity. And so, hot lights, stretcher, people screaming, they're not screaming your number half the time. So it's just like, hey, I got to give them a show. And so they called us back to the line, and then they announced the winner. And when they said my name and went to interview me, I couldn't do anything but break down crying, because at that point I felt like I trained for everybody that had heart issues, everybody that had health issues that were trying to overcome it, people that were disabled, people that had lost somebody, because they had lost my daughter. And it's just like, at that point I had given everything I had, physically, to train for that competition, for that trophy. For everybody else, even like in the gym, I remember doing pull-ups to failure, literally. I think I stopped counting at 70, and I collapsed to the floor, and I told myself, I can't bring my daughter back, but I can be better, And so that was the mindset that I had, and that was what I brought to the stage. And I wanted to win, not for me, but for everybody else. So it was a huge win for me. That was like the biggest win. Like, besides turning pro, like, that's just a title. I didn't even care about that. that was the biggest win for me because I had overcome so much, you know, and I stood on that stage with a guy that was like a year prior was on a heart monitor for 6 months, you know. No one knew that. Nobody, half the people still don't know that. I don't share this all the time, but at that point, that was a huge win for me. And I was just like, you know what, if I can do it, anybody can. And that's why I inspire so many people and push them to be their best, because it's like, you have no idea what I went through, you know, to get to that point, to the point where the doctor was like, you know, prior to that, a lot of people don't even know about this, but I have nerve damage in this arm, and I'm not supposed to do preacher curls or anything like that. I can be doing pull-ups, the nerve will feel like it would unravel and I'll fall. Even certain lifts that I do, it's just like I'll feel the tingling sensation. The doctor eventually told me like these 2 fingers would just literally curl up, like I would have no use. Wow. So like finding that out prior to that competition as well, and feeling like the pain of that nerve damage during that lift. And it was to the point where I was like, you know, I want this more than anything, you know, and I want this not for me, but for everybody that's dealing with whatever they're dealing with, so I can let them know like it's possible, you know, you can overcome anything. And that was the biggest win for me.